Today is April 3rd of 1865. I have a good feeling the war is near the end. The American Civil War has been a dark time in our history. As you recall, it began on April 9th of 1861 when the South fired on the Northern troops at Fort Sumter in the harbor at Charleston, South Carolina. Very dark time in our history. Over 620,000 people perished in that war. Some 75% of those died of infections from amputations. In fact, there would be 50,000 that would live with the rest of their lives with an amputated limb. I believe the war could have been much shorter had my generals followed through with battles. The worst at that was General George B. McClellan. He was a good strategist, but he always had an excuse. He needed more horses, he needed more men, needed more supplies of some kind. He was a good strategist, but he lacked one thing. He didn't care to fight. In fact, one day I wrote him a letter and I asked if I could borrow his men and borrow his horses. Well, of course, I didn't send that letter. I folded it up and put it in my desk drawer. Things changed when I named Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant as the commander of the armies of the Potomac. He was a fighter. He would follow through with battles. In fact, I didn't get much sleep overnight. I was at the War Department most all day yesterday, checking out messages that were left on the telegraph. The battle at Five Forks began at 4 a.m. on the 2nd. We won that battle and we marched right into Petersburg, Virginia. Of course, then from there, it was a short march on into Richmond. As you'll recall, Richmond was the Confederate White House. President Jefferson Davis resided there. Of course, when he saw that the troops were getting close, he evacuated the capital and headed off to North Carolina. General Robert E. Lee was doing all he could, but the Northern troops were all he could handle, and even more. I was looking forward to coming to Richmond tomorrow to celebrate.